Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can see the screen. This is Lofele speaking, your GS lecturer for second year. First of all, I just want to apologize to all of you. I experienced technical issues the whole of last week, so I couldn't record anything for you. Having said that, you said on one of your SMSs to us as your lecturers that you did not cover finishes, doors and windows, etc., etc. So I've prepared this lecture for you so that you guys up to date with regards to the preparation for your assignment that is due in August. So before we start, without wasting any of your time, before we start, it's important that we write a drawing number, which it is now 14A. I'm doing 14A. This comes from your notes last year when you were doing first year. So it's a continuation of what you guys were supposed to do last year. And then the next thing that you need to write, it is a project title. The project title, you need to write that. It's very important. And then the section of the work. And in terms of the section of the work, as you well are aware that we are busy with finishes, so that will be the section of the work. So whenever you do takeoffs, it's important that you have all those things in place. Okay, we have a plan here which has been given to us. It's got the stores, it's got the reception area, it's got offices, about 3 of them. And we are also given here a spec that we need to conform to. And once you've got the drawing number, you've got everything in place, then the next thing that you need to do is to draw up a measuring list. And remember, when you do a measuring list, it must be in accordance to the plan that's given to you, as you can see. And then also it must be in accordance with the specification. As you see here, we are dealing with internal finishes as well as external finishes. So what's going to happen here is that in terms of your measuring list, with regards to the internal finishes, right? We're going to deal with floors, right? We're going to deal with floors. And then the next thing we're going to look at, we're going to be looking at wall finishes. And then we're going to close off in terms of internal finishes, we're going to close off with ceilings. So that's basically it, what we need to do. But for this particular lecture, even though there are external finishes, but let me just write that there are also external finishes that you're going to look at. And in terms of that, we're going to look at the brickwork. But keep in mind that for the purposes of this particular lecture, we will only focus on the internal finishes. And then the next lecture that I will have with you will be on external finishes. All right, I hope you got that. So let's go back now in terms of the internal finishes that we are supposed to do. So now we're going to start with the floors. And before we do the floors, we need to look at the plan carefully and understand exactly what is needed here. So what I've done, I have decided to name all my areas. I've got area A, area B, C. I'll explain B and C, and then I've got E, I've got D, and I've got F. Now, the reception area here has got this big area that I decided to construct a line so that I have two reception areas, and that will assist me in terms of doing the calculations. So I've got my construction line there, meaning that I have reception 1 and I've got the reception 2. That is only for the purposes of trying to make sure that I get the right dimensions in as far as the takeoffs are concerned. And then later on, I will talk about this 4430, where I have added all my vertical lines in terms of the reception area. I've got that wall there, which is 1.930. And then I've got that wall there, which is 2.5. So I will talk about that later on. But for now, though, we're supposed to start with the collections, okay? We're doing the collections so that you are able to do proper takeoffs for the floors, because there's no way that you can do takeoffs in terms of the floors without having done the collections, meaning that you need to get the dimensions for each room as it appears on the plan. So in terms of collections, I'm going to make that bold. In terms of collections, I need to get the room areas, right? Everything must be perfect. As you can see, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to each room. I'm going to take the measurement, and then I'm going to record that as a collection. And the guiding principle here is that we start with the horizontal wall, and then we come to the vertical. So as you can see here, I can identify my first area. I can start with stores. I can call that A. Start with floors. I call that, with stores. I'm going to start with stores, as you can see here. And then on the stores, I'm going to take my first dimension. As you can see here, that wall there, it's the same wall as that wall over there on the opposite side. That is 2 meters, all right? I write that as 2 meters. And then I now come to the vertical. If I look at this plan carefully here with regards to the stores, I've got from that corner there until that corner there, I've got 7540. 7540 as my vertical. Now I'm going to move on to the second collects, which I name as B. On the second collects, I've got this area here. As you can see, it is the reception. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this one reception 1. This one, it will be reception 2. So I call it reception 1. Okay, and then I'm going to take now the first measurement. If I look at the plan, I can see the horizontal there, that it is 2430, all right? 2430. And then I'm going to look for the vertical. The vertical, it is 2.5, all right? The vertical, it is 2.5. Right over there, 2.5. Now, for collect C, I come to reception area number 2, reception 2. On reception 2, I look at the plan once again, and I can see that that area from there to there, it is 3320, 3320. Then I look for my vertical in as far as reception 2 is concerned, and I can see there's a dimension there which is 1930. 1930. I write that down. I move to collect D. Now I move into a different area because I'm done now with my reception. I come to area D, which is office 2. As you can see, the width there, it is 3320. And the vertical, rather the horizontal, it is 3320. And then the height, as you can see, the height for office 2, that is 3 meters from the plan. Is 3320 by 3 meters. Oh, I forgot to write there that I'm dealing with office 2. Office 2, so yes, office 2. And then once again, my dimensions for office 2, it is 3320. And then by 3 meters. I've already identified that it is 3 meters. I now come to collect E. In terms of collect E, and then look at the plan, I've got office 1, and the width there, it is 3 meters. As you can see, the horizontal there, it is 3 meters. And then the height, it is 1.930. 3 meters, I got that one down, which is office 1. As already identified, it is 3 meters by 1.90. 1,930. All right. I now come to the last area, which is office number 3. As you can see, the horizontal there, it is 3 meters. And then also the vertical, it is 3 meters. So it is 3 by 3. And the name of the area is called office 3. So for F, I have office 3. And with regards to office 3, I've got 3 meters by 3 meters. That's what I've got. All right. So I've done all my collections in as far as the floors are concerned. So what I need to do now, once I have identified the areas and having done all the collections for each individual area or room. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start with the takeoffs, all right? But before we start the takeoffs, we need to go back to the specification and try and understand what is needed here. So I go straight to the floors, and I can see here that there is a 300 by 300 vinyl tiles, which must be laid on the screed. That's the first thing that I identify. And secondly, I identify 30 millimeter cement screed with a mixed proportion of 1:3. That is part of what needs to be done in as far as floors are concerned. That is the second thing. The third thing here that I see is that we need to apply 2 coats of wax polish, which must be rubbed thoroughly on the vinyl tiles so that they can shine. So there are 3 things that we need to do here. It is the screed, it is the vinyl tiles, and lastly, 2 coats of wax polish. Those are the 3 things that we need to do. And then, of course, once we have laid the tiles in all the areas, the next step that we need to do before we move on to the walls is that we need to fix a skirting or install a skirting in terms of the perimeter or the width and length or the horizontal and vertical sections of each room. So you will see that at the edge where you have or your wall meets with your floor, you put what is called a skirting. All right, as you can see, it is a 19 by 69 millimeter Miranda skirting with angle rounded and with the 90 millimeter Miranda quadrant beads planted on and plugged to a wall. And then lastly on the walls is that we need to prepare 2 coats of polyurethane varnish. So in as far as skirting is concerned, we're gonna do 2 things here. We're going to install the skirting. And then after we have installed the skirting, then we need to make sure that we varnish that. So in terms of the skirting, there are 2 things that must be done. It is installation as well as the varnishing or the painting of the skirting. Now, let's go back now to the floors. I identified 3 things here with regards to the floors. I've identified the screed, the vinyl tiles, and I've identified that we need to paint the we need to apply a wax polish in terms of the vinyl tiles. So let's start. And we need to remember that we are doing 3 things. The descriptions will differ from one another to another, of course. There will be different descriptions, all right, for each item that needs to be measured. But when it comes to the measurements are the same for everything that we need to do here. So, according to the description here, we supposed to do the floors. I'll just write that so that you guys understand that this is what we are dealing with. We write the floors as a topic in terms of finishes. And my first description, it is the vinyl tiles. So I have the 2 millimeter here, Mali, which is the manufacturer. Mali semi flexible vinyl tiles. Okay, and the size is 300 by 300. To remove this, it's 300 by 300 millimeter, which will be laid on floors by using an adhesive cement on the screed, laid with adhesive cement on a screed or on screeded floors, if you like, on screed. Right. So that is the first dimension that we got here, which deals with the vinyl tiles. And then secondly, we need to deal with the actual screed in terms of the description here. So we have a 30 millimeter cement screed, cement mortar screed. Very, very, very cold. I feel very cold. And the mixed proportion there, it is 1 to 3. 1 is to 3. That is your mixed proportion. 1 is to 3. On floors, right? And the third dimension is that we need to apply a wax polish so that we get a high gloss finish. And the third description there, as you can see, it is the preparation and the polishing of the vinyl tiles. So it's prep and polish with 2 coats, wax polish, 2 coats wax polish, which is rubbed up to high gloss finish. Remember, this will be applied on the tiles themselves. So we've got, in terms of floors, we've got all those 3 descriptions. As you can see here on the spec, they are there. I haven't left out anything. Everything is the same, as you can see. Once you get that right, then you come to the dimensions. As I said, that what's going to happen is that we're going to apply or install rather the skirting on that wall there, where the wall meets with the floor, on that edge there. Then also we've got another wall there. We've got a wall here where we need to put the skirting, and also we've got a wall there where we need sorry, not the skirting, I'm making a mistake here. This is the area, the whole area here, where you'll have your screed. I'm correcting myself. You'll have your screed here. You'll have your vinyl tiles here, and also your polishing will also be here. So what's going to happen is that we measure this in terms of square meters, as you're going to see just shortly, that when it comes to area 1, we've got 2 meters there by 754, all right? So when we measure that, we start with the horizontal once again. Before I do that, I need to make sure that everything is done in terms of 2 decimal places. Let me just see if this will work. Yes. So it is 2 meters by 7.54. All right. And the reference for that would be collects A. Remember, we've done the collections already in terms of the floors. So that is where I got the dimensions for collects A. So once that is done, what we need to do now, we underline. I've done that, just underlined the first dimension. Sorry, the first area. I now come to the second area. On the second area, you remember that I've got reception 1 and I've got reception 2. So we can look at the plan if you want to, or we can rely on the collections, all right? So in terms of reception 1, we've got 2.43, okay, by 2.50. That comes from the collections, as you can see. That comes from the collections. At the same time, we can also identify that from the plan 2.430 and then by 2.5, as you can see. That's where it's coming from for reception 1. And then we give a reference, which comes from collects B. And we underline that. I'm sure we all know why. And then we move on now to reception 2. Reception 2 here, it is 3320 by 1930. It is a 3.32 by 1.93, and that comes from collect C. We underline once again, and we move on to the next area. So we're done with the stores. We're done with reception 1 and reception 2. We now move on, and the next area that we need to look at after the reception, it is office 2, which is 3320 by 3 meters. 3.32, all right, by 3 meters. And that comes from collects D. Right, and we underline once again. The next one, we come to collects E. On collects E, we have 3 meters. Okay, 3 meters by 1.93. Let's go and look at collects E to see if that is correct. Underline once again. And then on collects E, it is 3 meters, that is office 1 by 1.93. The last area here is office 3, which is 3 meters by 3 meters. It is 3 meters by 3 meters. And that comes from collects F. And when that is done, I then underline. So, as I already said, that when it comes to floors, I have identified the 3 things as per the specification. It is the vinyl tiles, it is the screed, and it is the wax polish. 2 coats of wax polish. So all these dimensions, as you can see, they apply in terms of all 3 of these items, because I said that in each floor, as you can see on the plan here, we'll have the screed, we'll have the vinyl tiles, and then after that, we will polish the vinyl tiles to a high gloss finish. So we've just done all of that. So now we move on and we look at the skirting. When you look at the skirting, you remember that there is a description there that says we have a 19 by 69 Miranda skirting with the angle rounded bit, angle rounded, and with a 19 millimeter Miranda quadrant bit planted on and plugged to the wall. And then we need to varnish the skirting when that is done. So let's go now and start a new item, which is called the skirting. So write the description once again. We have a 19 by 69 millimeter Miranda skirting, right? With angle rounded, including a 19 millimeter quad bit planted on and plugged to a wall. Right? And when that is done, we need to varnish that. So when you varnish, you first start with the prep work, which we need to do. And then once we've done the preparation, then we can do the varnishing of the skirting. So once again, it is prep and paint with 2 coats of polyurethane 3. Varnish on timber skirting, not exceeding 300 millimeter girth. Right, so those are the two things that we need to do in as far as the skirting is concerned. Now, when you do the skirting, I need to take you back to the plan that we're gonna do the skirting in that wall there on that edge, but you're gonna take the whole length, as you can see, is 2 meters times 2, because there are two opposite walls, as you can see. And then also on the vertical side, we also have 7540 on that wall there, where we need to put the skirting, and we need also to put a skirting there. So when I say times 2, you mustn't get confused. As an example, if I start with the first one, I know that room A is got 2 meters by 754. So I jump and I say 2 meters, as you can see. 2 meters, I'm gonna say times 2. What am I doing now? Okay, I'll multiply that by 2, as you can see, because I've got 2 walls where I need to put the skirt. I'm going to put it there, then I'm going to put it there. And then I move on. I look at the vertical wall, which is 7.54, and I say times 2 because there are two 7.54s. So I'm going to put a line there to show that I'm done with that wall. Also a line over there to show that I'm done with that wall. And then I need to put a reference because that comes from collects A. Then I know at least the first room is done. Now I come to the second room, which is the reception area. And I know that the reception area has been, it is subdivided into 2 areas. But there's a bit of a sidecast that I need to do so that you guys can understand what's going on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that wall, which is 1930. I'm going to take that wall because I'm going to put a skirt in there. And then I'm going to take it right through, right to the 230 wall. If I take it right through, then there's another wall there in terms of reception 2, which is 2.5. So I'm going to add those 2 so that I can have only one length when it comes to the skirting. So my side cast goes as follows. We have a 1930, which must be added. Just a second. 1930. I'm going to put that thing in the center if I can. Okay, I can't. And I've got a 193 by 2 plus 2.5, which I must add. If I add those 2, then I should be able to get my new length, which is 4430, with regards to the reception area. I've added that. Let me just go back again. 4430. Yeah, that would be my new length in as far as the reception area is concerned. So what I'm going to do here, I've combined the length, and then I'm going to take the overall length in terms of the horizontal. You will see the horizontal there. It is 3320. All right, that remains 3320. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write my horizontal, which is 3.32. All right. I must multiply that by 2 because there are two walls sharing the same dimension. And then I'm going to underline that to show that I'm done with that. And then my new length, which is 4.43, I'm going to multiply that by 2 as well. Multiply by 2, and then I need to underline. All right. Then in terms of my reference, I will say that comes from B and C. That comes from B and C. That is what I've got. Just need to make space so that it looks nice. Okay, maybe I need to move it there in the corner there. Okay, I've got that. Then I move on to the next area, which will be area D, where I have 3320 by 3 meters. All right. What did I say now? 3.32. Okay, by 3 meters. So I times that by 2. I then times that one by 2 as well. And then I underline each dimension. And I know that comes from collects D. That comes from collects D. That comes from collects D. And then I now come to E. On E, I've got that area there as 3 meters, as you can see, by 1.930. It is 3 meters by 1.930. It is 3 meters by 1.93. Times 2, we need to times that. On the times in column, we do that as well. Then we underline. And we say that comes from collects E. We now come now to the last area in terms of the skirting. And that area is area F. As you can see, it is 3 meters times 2. There's 3 meters there times that wall as well. So it is 3 by 3. It is 3 meters, as already said, by 3 meters. And of course, there are 2 of those walls. Then also there are 2 of those walls there in terms of the horizontal. We underline once again. We underline and we give the reference which comes from F. So I'm done with my skirting. As you can see, I've got my skirting. I've done all the walls, the floors. I've done the skirting. I've done the vinyl tiles. I've done the polishing of the vinyl tiles. I've done the screed as well. Now I'm going to move on now to the next item that I need to deal with, which is the walls. Doing the walls now, as you can see, finishes on the wall. And then in terms of the wall, we need to read the specification again. It says we need to plaster the wall, the internal plaster, which is a 15 millimeter, and the mixed proportion is 1:5 internal cement plaster with smooth trowel. That's the first thing that we need to do. And we need also to use a 1 filler coat and 2 coats of interior quality PVA paint. So in as far as the walls are concerned, we're only going to do only 2 things. That is to plaster the wall. They need a thickness that's 15 millimeter. And then we need also to paint. It's important to understand that the thickness already been specified here on the description. And with that in mind, it means that you're going to we're going to measure the walls in terms of square meters, because we already identified and specified what the thickness of the plaster will be. So we're going to do the walls. With regards to the walls, as you can see the description there, it says 15 millimeter. 15 millimeter cement plaster. Get that one right. Cement mortar or plaster. It is 15 millimeter plaster to brickwork. Okay, and then the walls will be plastered or finished with the smooth wood trowel, in terms of the finish, because at the end of the day, when that wall is plastered, it must be smooth. That is what has been specified by the architect. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing we need to do, we need to do prep work and paint prep and paint with one coat, that is your filler coat. And we need to apply 2 coats. Let's go back and look at the description properly. 2 coats interior quality. 2 coats interior quality PVA paint. So that is what we're going to do. Now, what we need to establish here, it is the height, because we need to get a height in terms of doing the plaster work and also doing the paint work on that wall as part of the finishes. So we need to understand that the height is given as 2.7. Yes, I don't have it here on this plan. I just forgot to attach it. But I just know the height, it is 2.7 in as far as this exercise is concerned. So what we're going to do in terms of area A, we're going to take that width, which is 2 meters, as you can see. We're going to multiply that by the height, which is 2.7. But you must just remember that there are 2 walls. If that wall is 2 meters, therefore that wall will also be 2 meters. If this one is 7,540, that one will also be 7,540. But we need to multiply it by the height, which is 2.7. So let's start with the first area. The first area, it is area A. And we always start with the width. As already said, this must be in 2 dimensions. We have 2 meters by the height, which is 2.7. That is 2 meters, your width by 2.7. So we've got that one right. But as I said, you must remember that we need to times that by 2 because there are 2 walls sharing the same dimension, which is 2 meters. And then we now come now to the second wall within room A. We've done the first wall where it is a 2-meter wall. We've done that wall. We've also done that wall. We've used the height, which is 2.7. Now we're going to come to this wall here, the vertical one, which is 7540. It must be multiplied by 2.7, the height, but you must also remember that there is another wall which also shares the same dimension. So 7.54 by the height, which is 2.7. And we multiply that by 2 because there are 2 walls. It's already indicated on the drawing. So once we got that, then we can write a description here. Sorry, the reference, and say that comes from collects A. Then we come to the reception area. The reception area has got a wall, which is the width, which is 3.32, by the height, which is 2.7. And we multiply that by 2 because there are 2 of those walls. We now come to the vertical wall, which is the 4.43. I'm sure you remember now the 4.43, but I will show you just shortly. By 2.7 times 2. Now, let me show you the 4.43, how we arrived at that. If you remember, I combined that length there, and I also combined that length there, which gives me, if you add 1930 by 2.5, then that will surely give us that 4430 times 2, because there's a wall here, and then there's also a wall there. And then the 3.32 I've done in terms of the horizontal, I said, is that 3.32, and then by 3.32. I've got that. So what I need to do now is to close it. Then the reference for that will come from B and C. That is the reference. Then I now come to the next area that I look at, which will be office number 2. And the dimensions there will be 3.32, 3.320 by 3 meters. Or it is 3.32. Then we need to apply the height, which is 2.7. We multiply that by 2 because there are 2 of those walls. Then we underline here once again. Then we come to the second wall within the same room, which we said it is 3 meters. So it is 3 meters times 2, and then by the height, which is 2.7. And the reference for that, it will be D. And once again, we close that. We then move to the next room. The next room will be office number 1. And the dimensions for office number 1 will be 3 meters by 1930. As you can see here, office 1, it is 3 meters, that is office 1. And then the other wall is 1930. Okay. 3 meters for the first one, it is 3 meters times 2 by 2.7, which is the height. And then we close. The second one, it is 1.93 times 2, and then the height is 2.7. Remember, the height will remain the same throughout this exercise. And we give a reference, we say that comes from E. And then we come to the last one, the last area, which is area F. Area F is office 3. And the dimensions for office 3 are as follows. 3 meters here, and then 3 meters. So it is 3 by 3. So for each wall, we always multiply by the height, which is 2.7. So we said it is 3 meters times 2 by the height, which is 2.7. And we underline. And then we move to the next wall, which is also 3 meters times 2, multiply by the height, which is 2.7. So that comes from collects F. Okay, that one is done. So I'm done now with regards to the walls. Now I'm going to come to the ceiling. In terms of the ceiling, we understand that this is where your ceiling is going to be. That is, once you've done all your walls and all your walls are up, then you need to install your ceiling together with the cornice as well as the trapdoor. All right. Let's look at the specification once again. We have a 6.4 Rhino gypsum ceiling board on 38 by 38 SSAP rendering at 400 millimeter centers, one way, and an additional brand along the outer edge of the room and along the joints of ceiling boards with a 19 millimeter half round Meranti joint strip. That's the first thing that we need to do. The second one is to prepare and prime heads of nails, prime the heads of nails, jointing strips, and a 1 coat filler coat and 2 coats interior quality PVA emulsion paint. That's the second thing we're going to do. When we're done with these two, then we will finish off with the cornice and the trapdoor. So let's look at the ceiling now. Let's look at this at the description for the ceiling. Where did I write now? Okay, I did not write anything. So that would be the ceiling as my topic. Okay, let me put that at the center to make a nice presentation. So in terms of the ceiling, we just read the spec, and the spec says or requires a 6.4 millimeter a 6.4 millimeter Rhino gypsum ceiling, which is nailed to the rendering, that is 38 by 38 millimeter SSAP rendering. At 400 centers, 400 millimeter centers. Then one way and along the outer edge of the room. with cloth nails, including 19 millimeter. Let's look at the spec again. A 19 millimeter half round Meranti joint strip, a 19 millimeter half round Meranti strip. Okay, so that's the description for the ceiling. And then what comes with the description now, it is the painting and the priming. Because once the ceiling has been installed, then you need to paint that, prep and paint. The primer, paint on the nails, on the nail heads. And the cover strips with one coat, filler coat. All right. And let's look at the description again, the spec. And 2 coats interior quality. And 2 coats interior quality emulsion paint. That is the ceiling. And when we do the ceiling, of course, we measure this in square meters. So we go back again in terms of the collections, and then we use those dimensions that are already there. As you can see, here on the dimension column, I've got the first one. As you can see, I'm going to take from there and then right here, because we measure everything in square meters. So what I do, I say 2 meters by 7.54. So I pretty much got to the first area, and the reference for that, it is A. And then that one is done. I can just underline. Then I move to the next row, which is a 2.43 by 2.5. Then that comes from collects B. I'll also underline when I'm done with that particular area. And then I've got collects B, and then for collect C, I've got 3.32. As you can see, everything is here in front of me. 3.32 by 1.93. All right. That comes from collect C. Underline once again. I then come to the next collection, which is 3.32 by 3 meters. As you can see, everything is here in front of me, just here. I take everything from here, and then that comes from collects D. Underline once again. Then I come to E, which is 3 meters by 1.930. Underline, and my reference there, it is collects E. I come to the last one, which is 3 meters by 3 meters. That is a F. So I'm done with my ceiling, and please remember, all these dimensions, they apply in terms of the ceiling itself and also apply in terms of the paint that must be applied on the ceiling as part of the finishes. Then I'm done now with the ceiling and painting. I check what I still need to do. I still need to do the cornice, which is a 75mm Rhino gypsum plasterboard cornice with bottom edge nailed to a wall with steel nails. All right, so I write that. I have a 75mm. A 75mm Rhino gypsum. Cornice that is nailed to walls with steel nails. So just like we did with when it comes to the skirting, because the cornice sits between where the ceiling and the wall comes together. And then in each room, you're going to use a cornice in each breadth or width or length. You need to cover. So sometimes it doesn't look nice where you have installed your ceiling. So to make the finish look nice and professional, then you need to use a cornice. So a cornice is almost like a skirting. In other words, the skirting, you use it at the bottom where you have your wall and your floor, you have your skirting. And then the cornice, you get it to where you have your wall and the ceiling where they come together. So what you're going to do now, as we did in terms of the skirting, in terms of the principle, we're going to treat it like that. And you remember that if you look at this area here, which is area A, the stores, you've got that width, which is 2 meters times 2, because you've got another wall there. If you're going to use a cornice here, you're going to install a cornice here, you need to install a cornice there. If you want to install a cornice on this wall, which is 7540, you need also to install the cornice over there as well. So that's basically what we are going to do. And this is measured in linear meters. As you can see with area 1, it's 2 meters. All right. And if you remember, there are 2 of those walls. This is just the first room, which is area A. And then we know the vertical wall is 754. And you get 2 of those walls. I've just showed you. Just briefly, I just showed that to you. And when that is done, then you need to give a reference. And the reference on this regard will be collects A. Okay. And then we come now to the reception area where you have 2 dimensions. So the width for that area, that is 3.32 times 2, because there are 2 walls there that will require a cornice. And the other dimension, that is 4.43, because we've combined those 2 lengths times 2. And then we underline it. Don't forget to underline. And we know that is a combination of B and C. Okay. We now come to the other area after the reception, and this is the area here, office 2, 3.32 by 3 meters. All right, 3.32 by 3 meters. 3.32 times 2 by 3 meters. We need to underline that. That comes from D. And then we move on. We look at another area, which is 3 meters by 1.93. Need to say times 2 once again. That comes from E. If you go back again on the plan, where the corners will be, we have office 1 here, which is 3 meters, that as you can see, by 1.93. Okay, I've got that. And then the last area for cornice, it will be office 3, as you can see, 3 meters there by 3 meters. 3 meters on this wall, 3 meters that wall. 3 meters on this wall, 3 meters long in terms of the cornice on the opposite wall. So it is 3 by 3. It is 3 meters times 2. There are 2 walls, as I've shown you now on the plan. And then 3 meters by 2. And that comes from collects F. Let me just underline everything that I do so that it makes sense to everybody. Okay, that is your cornice, as you can see. Now I come to the last item. Unfortunately, there isn't a description for it, but it is given that wherever you have a ceiling, you need to have a trapdoor. Okay, that must be fitted. That is a requirement in terms of the building regulations. So the last one I'm going to do, it will be an extra over item, extra over. Gypsum. Gypsum board. Ceiling. Or a trapdoor. The size for that will be 600 by 600 millimeter in clear. In a clear font. Of SSAP. You see, this is the material we've used for the ceiling, so we use the very same material for the trapdoor as well. With 12 by 15 millimeter Merandi. Run out of space. Merandi cover strips. So whenever we have a ceiling, we need to make provisions for the trapdoor as well. So when it comes to a trapdoor, what we do, we just describe it. And then when it comes to, of course, it's it's recorded as in numbers in terms of the standard system measuring building works. So we can just say there we only have one trapdoor. And then we have to underline it there. Yes, that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. In as far as the first lecture is concerned, I hope you're going to learn a lot from this lecture. And yeah, if there are any questions whatsoever, let me know. The next one I'm going to prepare now will be on the very same example or plan that we just worked on, but we will just do only the external finishes in terms of plan number 14A. Thank you very much and goodbye.